My name's Ian Lohman. I'm a Microsoft Cloud Specialist and I look after the account management side of things here at Adepteq. So I'll quickly run through what our agenda is today. So there's a little bit on us, just touching a bit on who we are and what we do. What is an intranet and why do you need one? Some of the key things that why people choose to go with intranets and why they're so popular now. Then we'll go into a demonstration of the Microsoft modern SharePoint intranets and the sort of look and feel and layout for those sort of out of the box sort of solutions from Microsoft. And then we have the Adepteq Intranet Essentials demo, which is an intranet in a box product. So you can see the difference between using bespoke Microsoft and using a third-party product. And then we've got questions and answers, so please feel free as we're going through to put questions in the panel and then we can pick those up and answer those when we get to the end. The event is being recorded, so we'll provide you with a copy of the recording after the event as well. So who are Adepteq? So effectively, we're experts in Microsoft 365, SharePoint and Teams. So we've had gold competencies for many years. Currently, we have the collaboration and content, which is SharePoint, and cloud productivity, which is Microsoft 365. We've been going for 15 years. We've been working in SharePoint since 2001 and the Microsoft Cloud since its inception in 2007. We're very much focused on local, national and clients throughout the UK, SME, SMB predominantly the area that we cover. We're also Office Cyber Essentials, which is a government-backed scheme to help with managing data and ensuring that you've got your basic protections against cyber attack, and we'd recommend that everyone looks at doing that. So just a little logo wall to give you an idea of the breadth of the sort of clients that we're working with across any industries. A good SharePoint deployment and good set of intranet tools works for any organization, whether you're public sector, private sector, not-for-profit, small business, large business. And at the end of our projects, we ask people to give us their opinions and their feedback, and there's an independent review site where you can see how people rank us. So moving on, what is a modern intranet? So first of all, an intranet itself is a website within your organization. So it's ring fenced as such. So it's an internal website. So a modern intranet is very, very dynamic, whereas traditional intranets were very static because often you required specialist skills to update them. So they were typical web-based products that needed web developers to update things. So putting on news items and changing pages was a slow process. Whereas with the modern intranet, it's more access to everybody, but it's much easier to add, edit and maintain content, so things tend to be a lot more dynamic. It's also more like a social platform, so it becomes like a digital workspace where people can interact, collaborate and share things in that one area. So traditionally employees were only sitting in an office using a network and be able to access the intranet through there. Now with modern intranets you can access from any device anywhere in the world effectively if you've got the right permissions to do so. So it gives people the flexibility to access what they need when they need it. So the intranet also allows workers access to all those tools and resources they need to work efficiently. So it's your central hub within your organization where you can put your compliance documents, your GDPR stuff. If you've got ISO 9000, it's excellent at managing those things where people need to know the way of doing something, the correct way of doing it, and always have the most up-to-date version of that document. It's also a place where you can share company news and updates. So it allows the company to get across and achieve its organizational goals. Now, this is something we've found in a number of intranets when we've looked at them in the past. Traditional intranets are very selfish things, so people want to find out stuff. So often you'll find the most popular pages on an intranet might be the lunch menu in the canteen. Or tube map and tube status for getting home. So by rearranging the way that you work the intranet as well, you can focus people on more important information for the company basis, but also give them what they're actually looking for at the same time. So why do you need one? Well, one of the big things is improving your internal communications. The fact that everything's available in one central place, helping employees find that information, making it easy. Search functionality in modern intranets is fantastic, and you can always find the sort of thing you're looking for. So especially if you're a disparate organization with many offices either in the UK or throughout the world. People can access and see this information at any point and share it wherever. It's a great way for boosting recognition and reward, flagging up people that have done a good job, people that have achieved a milestone in their employment, such as 20 years working for the company, or if someone maybe has done some work for charity, that you can put that in there as well. Simplifying your onboarding process. So at the moment, because there's a lot more hybrid working going on, people aren't necessarily going into an office for an onboarding process. A lot of it is happening remotely. So by using an intranet, you can set up all those documents and all the videos and everything that people need to go through as part of that onboarding and have it in that one place that you can keep track on. It gives you that organizational clarity as well, that you can get across to people the structure of the organization, how it works, who reports to who. All of those things are easily achieved through an intranet. Encouraging knowledge sharing is another big thing. You can find out things rather than reinventing the wheel. And the amount of times we've looked at organizations where the same piece of work has been done numerous times because people aren't aware that someone else in the organization has done something similar previously. Reinforcing your brands and values. So the fact that you can brand your internet, you can put your colors on it, you can make it similar to your website to reinforce that to your staff. Really, really important when people rebrand, which is often when they might have a new intranet, to get that across. One of the really big things that gives you a massive return on your investment is the reducing emails and meetings to some extent, especially on the emails, because traditionally people might want to find something out from HR. So they'll either be phoning HR to find out the information, or they send them an email. And then if it's a particular document they want, say, oh, how do I manage my pension? How can I change my the person that it's going to, whatever. Then a document would be sent back to them as an attachment in that email. Well, now everything's self-service and available on that portal that people can find how to do their pension, how to change the person that their funds are nominated to. So it cuts down a lot of time because people self-serve. Bringing your workplace culture to life as well. Again, very difficult in the hybrid era now that people have that culture, going out for lunch together, general the office banter as such. So trying to get some of that more online so people have the ability to connect with each other quite easily. And again, employee engagement. If your employees aren't engaged, you might lose them. It's a really, really tough market out there at the moment. There's a lot of shortages in certain areas of skills. So you want to maintain the employees that you've got. So by having employee engagement and giving them a good experience, something that you're offering that maybe your competitor might not be, is really important as well. So first of all, we're going to look at modern SharePoint intranets. So these are bespoke intranet solutions and digital workplaces that are built effectively by Adepteq. So SharePoint is included in your Microsoft 365 subscription, so there's no additional licensing costs for this. It's all professional services, and all your data resides in SharePoint. Now, Adepteq have been doing this for a very long time, but occasionally we've met clients where building a modern SharePoint intranet using the out-of-the-box tools isn't sufficient. There's certain functionality that they would like that would need to develop. Now then that becomes, is it cost effective to develop that element for that one particular client? So because of that, we then started looking at intranet in a box products. So a third-party solution that sits on top of what's already there. And that's why we then chose to work with Omnia. Omnia are very large within Northern and Central Europe and are expanding into the UK. They've got 5 years worth of Intranet Choice Awards from a very well recognised survey that goes on every year. They're the only organisation that's been recommended for intranets for 5 years on the trot in their environment. So that's the reason we chose them. So what we're going to do now is my colleague Phil Cave is going to go through and give you a demo on modern SharePoint's intranet. And then we'll go to Knut, who's going to do one for the Omnia intranet. So if I hand over to Phil.
Hello, good morning. Just share my screen with you. So hopefully everybody can now see my screen and hopefully everybody can now hear me. So what we're going to look at are some examples of intranets that are built using just the out-of-the-box options from Microsoft. So no third-party intervention. So what we're seeing at the moment is a reasonably standard intranet landing page. Looking at what we've got at the top here, we've a nice carousel with some news on it. We've got a countdown timer. That could be a countdown to anything that you like, a product launch, for instance. And we've got some local weather, and we've got some sort of national time zones on there. We've got some more news items, and we can just click on an item and takes us into that news item where we can read it and we can make comments. We've now got some links out to some recommended videos. We can store any type of video within the system. We've got some Yammer conversations, so we can start a Yammer conversation from here. We've got a Twitter feed on that page. Keep it nice and rich. It changes every day. We've got some targeted things. This is news that's recommended for me. So depending on who's logged on, they may see different news. Okay, so the main news is at the top and my targeted news is here. My recent documents. So any documents I've been working on within the SharePoint system or within OneDrive will appear here for me. Some navigation by tile. So we've got some nice images and we can click on those and takes us to whatever's under that navigation. A list of SharePoint sites I commonly use and some recommended documents, some recommended reading for me. So that's one example of a standard landing page. And it doesn't take very long for us to build that. Here's another example. This is Leadership Connection. It's where we keep important news items. It's where there's messages from the CEO, for instance. And a click on will take you to those messages and we can read those. Okay. This is specifically a news site. It's for putting all of your news on. We've got some events on here, so some dates out to some events, some more news, and so on and so forth. So it looks very rich. Okay, so that's an example of using a SharePoint intranet site just to deliver news. Another example here is for a more functional SharePoint intranet. This is for managing HR. So we click on benefits, we can see from our navigation at the top all of the things we can do. So new employee enrolment, so on and so forth. Okay, what's available? So dental benefits and so on. If we click on those, it will take us out to our benefits page. So all our employee benefits stored on the HR site. And we've got another drop-down menu. And lots of items on now. So coming back to our main landing page, what I want to show is how simple it is for non-technical people to create content for the intranet. So for instance, to create a news post, we just choose new and choose news. We get to choose a news template. And if I click on them, you can see that's one of our templates. And there's another template. There's a blank news item. So now, as a non-technical person, it's really very simple. Give it a title. Click on edit. We can choose images and the like. So we can change what the top looks like. Simple clicks. What you see is what you get. Okay, so again, no development work needed. If I want to add an image, I can choose my recent images, or I can even do a web search for images that don't require a license. Search for anything. Okay. And I can change very simply focal points. And then I can just type news in here. I can change my fonts very simply from here. Change font sizes, font types, font colors. I can choose whether or not I want people to be able to comment on the news. If I don't want comments, turn it off. If I do want comments, turn it on. And then post that news. So you can see it's very simple for people to do. If you are a contributor to the intranet and you want to add a page, go back to our home and create a new page. We can have templates for these if we want, but I'm going to use a blank. And you see it looks exactly the same as a news page. So thinking about the layout of a page, very simply, I can choose how many columns I want. So I've got 2 columns. I can change it again from here. I can change the background color again. It's what you see is what you get. And then I decide what I want on my page. If I click plus here, we can see the rich set of tools that we can use. We can put a Twitter feed. We can put document libraries, buttons, images. We can put YouTube videos. We can put Microsoft Stream videos. We can add links. We can add news to that. We can add events, calendars, organizational charts. So it's really, really, very simple. Put the news web part on, click on edit, and then decide how we want that to look. It's all what you see is what you get. When we're happy with the page, we give it a title when we publish it, and it's now available on the intranet for all of your users to see. So that is modern SharePoint intranet from Microsoft. And you can see that my news page is now published. Okay, so that's all. It's all from me, and I'll be back for the Q&A towards the end of this webinar.
Right, so thank you very much, Phil, for your side of things. So the next we're going to look at the Adepteq Intranet Essentials. Now, Intranet Essentials is a new product that we've recently launched based on what's called Omnia Express. So it's an intranet in a box solution and a digital workplace. There's a monthly subscription fee for the third-party solution that sits on top of your Microsoft 365. And again, all your data resides in SharePoint, so you have everything locally. And like I said before, one of the reasons we chose them is that they've been the top-rated intranet for 5 years in a row in the Clearbox survey. So we're going to move on to Knut now, who's a Microsoft MVP and works for Omnia. So if I now hand over to Knut for the demo of Omnia.
Thank you, Ian. So let me just share my screen. And I think today we're actually just gonna jump straight into demo mode and no slides, because then we can spend a little bit more time looking at how everything works when you kind of do the Adepteq Intranet Essentials. So one of the big differences from using the bespoke solutions like SharePoint and those kind of things is that when you have a ready-to-go product, of course, a lot of the building blocks are ready to use. So it means that you can get started a lot quicker than if you just go with bespoke solutions. So for instance, we have already a landing page designed for you, so you don't need to spend time designing it. So when you launch your intranet, it will be looking exactly the same way as this page that you can see on my screen now, with the elements that you are having there as well. And of course, some of the key reasons to why you should go with Intranet in the box product is, of course, the fact that yes, you can really launch something really quickly. Another thing with Omnia is that you have a lot of features in the product. So maybe you will later on decide that, hey, maybe we need to have like some more features in or functionality within the intranet, and most likely you will have those features already in the Intranet Essential or Omnia Express, as it also go under the name of. So, for instance, let me just show some examples here. So, for instance, when you should create a news article, of course, it can be great to also be able to tag it with a lot of different tags, so that it will be possible for your employees to subscribe to the news. You know, so for instance, when you have a news feed, that person that works in your company can choose themselves what will be inside of that feed. So that's one of the things that you get with the Intranet in the box product, that you kind of have that functionality already there, instead of having some kind of AI that magically should decide what are interesting news for you as an employee, because usually that doesn't work. Usually you want to have the power as an employee also to choose yourself what should be in your news feed. And it comes also the same for the right side on the screen here. This is personalized to me as a employee in the company, so I see relevant things to me. I see quick links as well that is relevant to me. I can also add my own quick links here, so it will be my personal dashboard, so to say, within the intranet, which is actually really important these days. When you talk about intranet, you should also include your employees, and the employee should have like a part of the intranet that is personalized for them. So that's kind of where an intranet in the box product usually can deliver more than just some stuff out of the box from Microsoft and M365 platform. So if we look at our mega menu, this is also where navigation is usually a key to why you want to choose an Intranet in the box product, because the navigation is much more richer. You can have more levels in the navigation, and you can also security trim it in different ways to make sure that people don't see things that they shouldn't see as part of your navigation as well. Other things that you get in the Intranet Essential product is that we actually get also an action menu here on the right side. So for instance, we can go here and search in our solution. So if I will search here, let's say on sales, I will get our search results. And here you have promoted results, and you also have document search, people search, and this kind of things. So for instance, this is also like a really key to Intranet in the box product, is that we get people search as part of the product as well. So for instance, when you want to go in and search here, you can also customize the refiners. So these are things that you only could do with custom development when it comes to, for instance, to have an intranet in SharePoint, and you'll have to spend time on custom develop these features compared to buying a product where all these things are included in the product, and it's just about configuring them and kind of figuring out like what type of refiners do we need in my organization. So those are kind of things that can be highlighted as things where you get more if you kind of choose to pay a subscription fee for an Intranet in the box product. Also, if you look into our top navigation here, you get something called a notification panel. And this is also a key part of the product, part of the Intranet Essential product, because here you'll be notified about elements that is relevant to you based, as I mentioned, on the subscription that you have when it comes to, let's say, news in this particular example. I also here see a news that I haven't read. So for instance, this news I haven't read, that's why it's blue and that's why it's bold. So this is also things that we can do when it comes to an Intranet in the box product. They have all this kind of functionality and features that kind of builds on top of whatever you will get if you have like a bespoke intranet from SharePoint, for instance. Here, when I will read it, it will not be blue anymore. We could also have configured that it will be removed from the list when I read it, because then maybe it's not that important anymore, and I can go to the news center instead to find the same news item, for instance. We also have possibility here to be notified about news coming in from SharePoint, because yes, Omnia is also a SharePoint intranet, so it runs alongside with SharePoint. So we can also show news from SharePoint. We can show documents from SharePoint, and we integrate 100% within SharePoint as well. So it's also important to know as part of the solution as well. Another thing is that if I go here to our organization, you also can kind of go in and look at how quickly and responsive our solution is. So for instance, if you go here, you will see that everything loads like lightning fast. And this is also one of the reasons why a lot of our customers is choosing to go with Omnia, because we can deliver a better performance and a shorter load time of the solution as well, which is of course also really key. We can also have the look and feel of your company, of course. We'll put your logo, we'll put your branding, all that things as part of the Intranet Essential delivery as well. But one thing I wanted to show you here as well is that we can also deliver a people finder solution here. You remember we had the search up here, and we can search for people here, but a lot of organizations also want to have like a phone book or like a way to find our employees. And this is also part of the Intranet Essential solution, you know, so you will kind of get this already configured, it's already there. You don't need to spend any hours or any extra consultancy hours or development to build this, because this one you also will not get without needing to do custom development when it comes to SharePoint and this kind of thing. So this is like a lot of those reasoning behind why one organization will get more if you go with the Intranet in the Box product. It doesn't mean that you will have not a great solution if you will run with, let's say, SharePoint, but then you will have to do some custom development to get the same kind of features as you will get if you will go with an Intranet in the Box product like the Intranet Essential that we are showing you today. So if you go back to the front page, you can also see that there are a lot of building blocks here that is as well a little bit different. We can also have a poll in the landing page, so that is also part of the Intranet product here. So you can have a weekly poll. You can also have a survey. You can have all these kind of things as part of the product as well. We have the upcoming events here, so you are showing events from the organization, the corporation, and then of course you can also go in and register to the events if that's something you want to do. We have the web part over here showing either birthday, or you can be showing also, let's say, upcoming anniversaries in the organization, or maybe new employees as well, which is also kind of nice. But another part of the product, which in my opinion is really great, is the one that we have here down on the right corner. This one is just a button for me to show it, because I already was at the Intranet page multiple times. But usually this is something we will launch when a new user will log on to the Intranet the first time. So this is a welcome tutorial to actually give an introduction to the Intranet and highlights part of the Intranet, so that it will be easier to kind of understand as an end user how to navigate within the Intranet. And this is something that helps really on the user adoption of your Intranet. And as you can see, here is a wizard. This will be custom built to your specific requirements, of course, as part of the delivery. But again, this is something that is part of the product and is something that is easy to configure, and we don't need to do any type of custom development to deliver something like this. To have that search experience that you saw where we have all those filters for the employees, it's also important that the employees have this possibility, as you can see here, to go in and fill in the detailed information about themselves. And this is also something that in Omnia is a part of the product again. So you don't need to do anything custom here. Also, you will just go in and configure like what does 100% completion mean? How important is all these different tabs you have over here? And then if your employee hasn't filled it in, we can have this as a pop-up as well to force the users to actually fill in information here, which is also really key and really important, because later on it's possible for a colleague to then go and actually do a competence and skills search and find that Knut is good in social selling, for instance, or I can speak Danish. Actually, I cannot, but I can speak Norwegian at least, so it's pretty close. So we can also here, as you can see, this is again coming into the news feed. So here I'm kind of selecting topics that is interesting for me. or I can go and do my local news subscription. So I can then say that, hey, I want to subscribe to Toronto because that's where I'm working, and I can subscribe to different news here. For instance, I can also subscribe to Alameda Bikes. And that means that now when somebody will publish a news article on Alameda Bikes, I'll be notified about that in the notification panel that I showed you up here. So this is where an Intranet in the Box product is really making a lot of more functionalities for your intranet and what you can get out of the box without any custom development, that is. So that's kind of really important to remember, that that's the reason why Intranet in the Box product exists, because we have packed a lot of functionality in there that is ready for you as a potential customer to use inside of your organization. Last, before we'll jump to Q&As, I just wanted to show you another thing that of course is important as well, because as you can see here, this is also something that we can do as part of the ready to go in box product, you know, that we can have different type of notifications or different type of announcements or messages, you know. So for instance, here we have created an announcement that should be showing a little bit more highlighted on the screen, because this is like an important notification to let everyone know about. So for instance, this is also something that is a part of the product, so it's easy to create them. You can put a start date and an end date. You can also target them to a specific department or something like that, because maybe not everybody needs to see it, or maybe you have multiple locations, and by this you can also then target it, let's say, to the London office, and people that works in the Oslo office, they will not see it. So this is also a lot of the reason behind why an Intranet in a Box product is worth paying that extra subscription fee for every month. When we go to creating a news article, the experience is really similar to the one that was just shown to you, but here I will just test the new coffee machine. I just want to show you that there are also some differences here. So here you can also choose from a template, of course, but the big difference here is that, for instance, if you have the template, you see here, for instance, we can add the text. You can control as part of the product what is allowed to have here as possibilities. So for instance, here I cannot choose to have my text in red. I can only have it in black, because that's the font and the color of the font that we want to have in our company. I'm also not allowed to choose different font sizes, because we want to have just some font sizes. I'm only allowed to choose heading or normal and this kind of thing. This we can control 100% in our product, which means that you will have less chances that maybe some content producers are producing things that doesn't look the same, which I think is important. From adding images, we can also integrate with a lot of different sources. So for instance, maybe you want to integrate with third-party sources like Bing or Pexels. So for instance, here I can search for coffee, and I will see things here coming up. As you can see here, and this is images that can be used because they're open source, so I can use them in my intranet, and I'm adding them here. And the difference here to what was just shown you is that instead of just setting a focal point, I can actually, as a content producer, I can control what part of the image should be shown in the different roll-ups that you're having, which means that as a content producer, I'm in control. And typically that's something the content producer prefer to be, because they know best how the things should look when you have the different type of lift ups and so on. There's also a lot of other options here with advanced image handling. So for instance, we can do grayscale version of the image, and there are a lot of things we can actually go in and do here to kind of help on how the image are shown in the end result here. But now let's do it gray. And you see now it's here on the top. We can add links and all these kind of things here. And the nice thing here with adding links is I can actually go and add documents or pages, and I can do it through search. I can also add links to documents from the intranet and so on, again through search. So I don't need to upload the document or anything. I can just find it because probably stored another place in my intranet. So that is also something that is a lot easier, and you will have not the same document stored in 10 different locations. That is can be typically the the kind of the situation if you're not having this way of adding documents and links, and you don't need to go in the URL and copying it or like do these kind of things. You'll just use our tool to help you to find your document that you want to attach. And then, as you will see here, we have also the possibility to preview, because again, yes, of course, what you see is what you get, but what if you want to have a responsive page and you want to have it on the mobile phone? You don't know how it will look then unless you have the preview button, because that's the only way to know how the different columns will break. And this is also something that you get in the Intranet in a box product, that you have more control. You can see things before it's published, which I think is really added value to that subscription fee that we ask you to pay for the product. Another thing that is really important here is that we could put on approval, and you don't need to use any other third-party solutions for approval. It's just configuring it, go into the settings, say, hey, I want approval, and then you will have approval on the document or the news creation as well. The last thing I want to show is if you go here to properties, you see that this is what I mentioned, that you can go in and say, hey, this document should be for the organizational area. I can go in and say that this is additional topics. This is for employee of the choice and food and foundation. And this is where my employees later can say, hey, I want to subscribe to that topic and I want to subscribe to that topic. And by this, we will go in and actually get a newsfeed that is relevant to me as an end user. We also have the possibility to schedule the publishing in the future, and we can also put in a mandatory read here to make sure that actually my employee read this news article, because sometimes that is also a requirement in an intranet that I have to say, hey, I read it. So that's just to show you a little bit that the reason behind why Adepteq and we have partnered up is to offer you something where there are a lot more possibilities, a lot more functionality that just can be configured, and you don't need to do custom development to get the same kind of features. So that's kind of a little bit the reasoning behind we have this partnership with Adepteq. So with that, back to the Q&As.
Thank you, Knut. Sorry for your time going through that. And we're now going for the Q&A. So let's just look through. I've got a couple of questions here. So the first one that I've got is, can you register for events on the intranet? So to you first, Phil.
Yes, we can. We can create any automation to register for events, and we can make that as simple to do or as complex as we want to. There is a set of tools supplied with 365 to allow us to do that.
Excellent. And Knut?
Yeah, so in Omnia or in the Intranet Essential is an extra add-on module where we can do like full event management and event registration. So you can even register yourself, or you can register to others, or for instance, if you have like a specific amount of attendees that can attend an event, you can also have a waiting list included there. So this is just a feature that has to be configured if you want to take advantages of it.
Okay, great. So the next question that we have is referring back to the video. So what type of video can you use and where is it stored, as we currently use Vimeo?
Okay,
Phil.
If I take this one, then you can use most types of video, and you actually store them in Microsoft Stream. So Stream is another Microsoft product that you get as part of your Office 365 subscription. And it's for storing and sharing videos that you can then play from your intranet pages.
Okay, Knut?
Yeah, so with Omnia, you could have videos stored in Vimeo, you can have videos stored in YouTube, or you could use the one that Phil mentioned, Microsoft Stream. So of course, for internal videos, just as with Phil, recommendation of course is to use Microsoft Stream, since it's already included in your licensing.
Excellent. Okay. The next one is about Microsoft Teams. Can the intranet be displayed in Microsoft Teams? Phil.
Yes, we can display that within Teams, so you don't need to leave Teams to see your intranet homepage and navigate around it.
Excellent. And Knut?
Yeah, so with Omnia, it comes with a Teams connector, so you can display your intranet in there. You could also choose if you want to have your navigation, as I showed you, on the top or on the left side of your screen. The great thing about Omnia is that kind of the Teams experience will be the same if you are on a mobile phone or if you are on the desktop. So you will just get a responsive version of your intranet. So a little bit different than typically the Viva connection experience, which is totally different for Teams and SharePoint, or kind of Teams and the mobile app, I mean.
Okay, great. And there's one more at the moment that we've got is, can we have users from outside our organization access the intranet? Phil?
Yes, we can add guest users from outside the organization and share any content and intranet pages with them.
Excellent. And Knut?
Yeah, the great thing with Omnia is that it's 100% support frontline workers. Also, they don't require a Microsoft 365 license to actually access whatever resources that you want to have. Because that's typically something people forget, is that if you should access an intranet resources, you need to have a license for M365 to do that. But with Omnia, since everything is built a little bit outside of Microsoft 365, it means that you can not have a license to access your intranet. And we are controlling those users inside of Omnia. So it's easy to add and remove them, basically.
Excellent.
Can I just jump in again now? Guest users don't need a license either. So there's no 365 licensing needed for a guest user.
Okay, excellent. Right, well, I haven't got any more questions on that, and we're coming up literally 1 minute away from our designated finish time. So well done, guys, for cramming it, getting everything in. That whistle-stop tour of modern SharePoint and Intranet Essentials. If you are interested in specific demos around your requirements, then we're more than happy to do a modern intranet with SharePoint or an Intranet Essentials demonstration specifically for you. So please get in touch with me after the event and we can arrange that for you. Like I said, a copy of the video will be going out to everyone after the event once we've got that processed. And thank you very much for attending. We really appreciate your time today. I hope you all have a good rest of the days. Thanks very much indeed.